I'm Chris Murray, one of the professional power tool trainers over here in Denham, and I'm here with my colleague.
Hi, my name's Danny, also one of the power tool trainers here at Denham. I'd like to take this opportunity as well to introduce Rob behind the key cameras over there.
Hello.
There he is, keeping a close eye on your questions today. The main purpose of the live streams is to give you an outlet to be able to talk to us directly, to ask questions, take a look at some new innovations that we've got going on. Gives us the ability of just a more personable means of communications between everybody.
Yep, exactly. So today's live stream, as you've probably guessed by the images and videos that you might have seen, we want to talk about small angle grinders. In fact, primarily we want to talk about XLOCK grinders. But obviously, probably what we want to do first is establish, what's a small angle grinder? What do you guys use it for? I'm sure many of you guys already know, but to those people out there, Danny, what do you think?
Definitely. I mean, any education's worthwhile. Any level of knowledge.
Okay, so what kind of applications do you think the typical user out there use a small angle grinder for?
Mainly with grinders, you're looking at obviously grinding, hence the name of the machine, cutting, also linishing, sanding, wire brushing, basically down to material removal.
Exactly.
Whether it's dressing material or removal of rust or weld or anything like that.
Cool. Right, so I mean, as an example, I've got one of our small angle grinders here. It's not actually an XLOCK grinder because I figured best place to start is to compare the current system with the new system that Bosch has created, the XLOCK system. So what you've got here is you've got your traditional M14 spindle. Okay, in order to fit the traditional accessory, you'll need a number of parts. You have the flange here, which will sit in here. You'll obviously have the accessory in here. In this case, I've got a cutting bonded abrasive disc. And then finally, you need the locking nut. Okay, and obviously you need to put all this together. You need to lock the spindle with the spindle lock on the top here. And then you'll need the ever elusive spanner that always goes walkabout to tighten it up. Okay, that's fine. You guys have been doing that for many years. You know what you're doing. So what's the alternative? What have we got?
The downside to this to start off with is you've got an exposed nut on the end there, which means that you're limiting the amount of material that you can actually use off the grinding disc itself. So anything to eliminate that and to speed up the change of accessory is always a bonus. There's also the opportunity to maybe use a grinder for a couple of applications which before they've not been able to use for. But we'll cover that a little bit later with the range of XLOCK accessories. That's
right. You have a number of points of weakness with the traditional system. Obviously, you've got the nut. This can be put on the incorrect way, which will cause, incorrect fitment, which could cause issues. This can get damaged, as Danny's pointed out a few times in the past. If you get it stuck on, you're often going to have some guy with a screwdriver having a good whack at that, trying to get it off. The actual accessory itself, if you're tightening, you can probably tighten this too much, you can tighten it too little, which will cause issues. And then finally, the flange itself, this needs to be maintained because there are a number of things that can wear. The positioning ring here, that might need to be changed, or the actual entire flange might need to be changed as well.
Yeah, if it's not sufficiently tightened, you'll obviously get slippage of the disc, which can cause wear in either of the flanges anyway. So they're kind of a consumable item. I know a lot of people don't regard them as a consumable item.
Okay, but really, what we need to do now is just let's get an XLOCK grinder out and compare it.
Right, go and grab one.
So what Danny's got, I've got here is a GWS 18V-10SC. GWS is the name that we give our grinders, and Danny's got the GWX, which is an XLOCK grinder. It's exactly the same model, except that it is an XLOCK machine.
Yep, also fitted with a 1mm stainless steel disc. So yeah, let's have a little bit of a race to remove and refit the cutting disc.
Well, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to have a head start.
I'll give you a head start.
I've got to lock the spindle and I've got to find the key, remove it. Okay.
There we go. I think that's enough of a head start. So, disc removed.
Okay.
Fit.
Okay.
Done.
He's beating me.
So, although you've had a lot of practice of that recently.
For the last 20 minutes, I've been practicing to try and beat, but I've got no chance.
No chance at all.
There you go. So that's the traditional system you're all used to. Let's focus on the XLOCK system. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the main advantages, as you can imagine, is the quick release system. That's by far the most obvious XLOCK benefit. If you're working with bonded abrasives, which obviously reduce over time, they only have a certain amount of lifetime in them before they wear down, then being able to change them, as Danny will show, easy, not a problem. You can change your bonded abrasive disc without having to waste time taking it off and checking the system.
An advantage as well with the XLOCK as well, if you're using a metal disc or a metal cutting disc, they're going to get hot during use. Having a completely tool-free, hands-free means of removing that accessory, it's always a benefit. Although you should be wearing gloves when you're using a grinder, obviously, no one wants to be handling hot metal objects.
Okay, let's have a close-up. Let's have a close-up of the interface so the viewers out there can see it. So
Pop it over there. There you go.
So if you can see in the close-up, you can see that there's a very unique shape to the interface, and this is obviously where it derives its name, the XLOCK system. Okay, and how to attach the accessory exactly as you see, and then you get a nice reassuring click, means the accessory is on. And one more time, Dan, just showing how you remove the accessory.
Remove the accessory, simple. Just operate the lever on the top, give it a pull, and off it pops.
Nice and easy. Now, there are some other benefits as well in regards to the XLOCK system. So it's not just about being more maintenance-free compared to the traditional M14 system, but also if you're using directional blades, there's an added benefit.
Yes, some blades, especially in the case of the metal cutting disc we've got there, we have a gulleted system. So basically, it's designed to work in one direction and one direction only. If this was a standard M14 fitment, it is possible to fit it the wrong way round. Obviously, this reduces the life expectancy of this blade and can also be dangerous. But whereas with the XLOCK system, it will only fit on the correct way round. So it eliminates the possibility of mistakes being made. So there you go, pops on perfectly in that direction. But if I try, remove it and pop it on in the other direction, will not fit. The keyway doesn't line up and it's physically impossible to put it on the wrong way round. That goes for all of the discs. They're all designed to be fitted on one way round. Especially with even the bonded abrasives, if you spend the life of that bonded abrasive spinning it in one direction, changing that direction, it loses the structural integrity of the disc. So in reality, you want to keep it always rotating in the same way. So this eliminates the possibility of mistakes being made and also prolongs the life expectancy of the accessory that you're using. Excellent.
Now, there's actually a rarely discussed benefit of the XLOCK system is the fact that because we don't have to worry about using a locking nut, we're able to decelerate the disc much quicker in the case of an emergency or just when you're switching the machine off and putting it down. Because obviously the last thing you want is you want a disc running for any period of time. We have it on our larger machines, which is an X-brake system, and because the lack of the need for a nut, because if you're decelerating a disc quickly, there is a chance that over time you might start to loosen that, especially if you haven't tightened it up correctly to start with.
Or indeed you have worn flanges, as we said before.
Exactly. Because you do not have these parts, you're never going to run the risk of spinning off the accessory because of the fitment mechanism. Now, one of the questions we often have is, what happens if you pull the lever while the machine's running?
Well, actually, we've thought about that as well. The lever is mechanically isolated once the machine is running. So although you get some movement in the lever, it will be physically impossible for you to remove that disc whilst it's spinning.
Nice.
So
okay,
there's a fail-safe in it.
So what we'll do throughout the streamings, we'll bring up some extra features. We'll talk about some of the accessories, but I think the first place to start off is let's have a look at the XLOCK grinder range. Okay. Certainly. So the first one I want to bring out is our back down here for now. Let's bring out our entry-level angle grinder. So this is our GWX. Remember, GWX means an XLOCK grinder. GWX 18V-7. So this is our entry-level, roughly 700 watts. So that's what the 7 stands for. So it's roughly a 700-watt grinder. What you've got, standard features, obviously, it's, as an XLOCK grinder, you have the XLOCK mechanism. You'll have a toolless guard adjustment, so you don't need to have to worry about loosening and tightening that. Yep. It's all done via the lever on the side here, so nice, quick, easy adjustments. The machine is brushless as standard, which is excellent because that makes the system more efficient and also maintenance-free because you don't actually have any carbon brushes in the motor to worry about. And in addition, it's got the traditional standard lock-on switch on the side here. Right. Now, one thing that I wanted to discuss is the fact that many of our grinders have relatively slim grip as well. And you might be wondering, big deal, you know, just cope, just make do. Why do you need a slim grip? Well, actually, it just makes the machine more comfortable, especially if you're using these tools for long periods of time. You know, we always say, you know,
first thing you want to do when you're using the machine is make sure you're comfortable. You're sitting comfortably, or you're standing comfortably, or you're crouching comfortably. Basically, just your main issue is your comfort. If you get a cramp while you're using a grinder and you start moving about all over the place, then they're the opportunities or the chances of things to go wrong and you hurt yourself.
That's right. So as this is a relatively new machine, this takes advantage of the fact that we've now made slimmer grip machines. So these are roughly between 155 to 156 millimeter circumference. So nice, comfortable machines to use. Right, okay, well, as I said, that's our entry-level machine, super light, super convenient. What kind of things would you do with this? Well, it'll do a majority of the applications the average tradesman will use. Yeah. Obviously, if you're wanting to do heavier applications, then you might want to jump up, and we'll talk about some of the machines. But as an entry-level machine, this is super cost-effective and gets you into the XLOCK system at a nice, cheap price.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move up to the next series, which is our 10 series. So these are our GWX 18V-10s. Let's have a look here. I've got the...
3 of these at the moment.
That's right, we've got 3 models. Now, I've got the, let's say, the entry level, the beginning one of the 10 series. This is the GWX 18V-10, okay? Similar to the 7, except now it's a 1,000, or the equivalent of a 1,000 watt machine. It's also got, obviously, the XLOCK system. It's a brushless motor as well, and it features the same slide-on switch. Okay, so if you're looking for a little bit more power, obviously you want more power when using an angle grinder because it allows you to be more aggressive when grinding or cutting through materials, get your work done quicker, especially if you're working through thicker material. Then you could upgrade to the standard machine, which is the 10 series. The second one in the model?
Yep, we've got the GWX 18V-10SC. The SC is basically the denomination of the features that you get in addition to the previous one. So on the top here we have an HMI, or human machine interface. Gives you the 3 separate speed settings. That's where the S comes from. And the C is regarding the connectivity feature. So this allows you to modify the speed settings to really give you the best application for the accessory that you're using. With some accessories, especially wire brushes, for instance, you want to run a lower rotation speed. That way, you're prolonging the life of the accessory, and you basically it gives you ease of control once you're using those. And the connectivity feature there as well, so you can connect it to your mobile. Really come into its own now. The connectivity features on these machines are fantastic.
Exactly.
And the third one is basically exactly the same as the SC, except it's the GWX 18V-10 PSC.
PSC, yeah.
Same speed control, same connectivity functionality, but it has a paddle switch on the front there. So most commonly known as a dead man switch. Unfortunate naming structure.
Pretty macabre,
there,
but it's a good name for a good reason.
Basically, should you lose control of the machine or should you drop the machine, it's a momentary switch. So the switch is released, the machine will stop.
Excellent. So there's a number of extra features that we'd like to discuss. Because these are our standard models, there's a number of innovations that we put inside. We call them our protection system. Yep. In particular, we'll talk about 2 main ones. Or actually, or we should say actually, because these are cordless machines, they've obviously got something called restart protection. The 7 has it. All the 18 volt machines have it, which is, say for example, you've got your machine, it's been left on for some reason, it's slipped into the on position, you know, in the bag, and then you've gone to put a battery on it, and you don't want that to start up straight away, right? As you can see from the HMI, it's flashing red. There's an error, there's something wrong. The switch has been put on. Okay, switch off, and now it's safe to go. I've just blipped that very quickly. Okay, and now the machine's ready to go again. So that's restart protection, and that's universal across all of our 18 volt grinders.
It's actually universal across all the corded grinders as well.
Correct, actually, that's very correct. Right, so other things we've got is we've got a accelerometer. So there's a sensor inside these angle grinders, which allows us to detect any sudden movement. Okay, it's the same kind of accelerometer that you have in your smartphone to move it from portrait to horizontal, portrait and landscape view. So what you've got is, if you're, say for example, you are working this machine as in cutting, and the accessory might catch in the material or bind. And what's naturally going to happen is the machine's going to kick, and typically it's going to kick back towards you, which is suboptimal at the best of times. Yes. So what the machine will do is to detect the sudden movement, and it'll switch the machine off, and I'll demonstrate that now. Okay, again, the HMI here is flashing red, saying there's an error. The LEDs are also flashing to say there's a warning. Reset, and then we're ready to go again. Now, it's got another feature called drop control. So, for example, as you said there, Dan, if you were to drop the grinder, the last thing you want to do, or if you drop a cordless grinder, you're probably going to have to shove that into the corner with a broom and wait for the battery to die. Yeah. However, because we use the same technology that we use for kickback control, if you were to drop it, the machine itself will switch off. So I'll let Dan demonstrate that.
There you go. So just pop it on for a second. And there you go. Just a lateral movement will trigger the drop control. So again, reset, and you're good to go again. That's also available on the PSC as well. Some people might think because it's got the paddle switch or the dead man switch that once it's released it stops. Unfortunately, if you're grinding up a ladder, not the ideal working conditions. Obviously, you need to be safe and secure, probably on a nice flat surface whilst you're grinding. It does happen, but if you fall off or someone falls off, your tendency as a human being is to grip hold of what you're holding. And the last thing you want to be doing is falling with an operating grinder in your hand. I mean, it's bad enough that you're going to hit the ground, but last thing you want is a grinder following you as well. So again, even on the paddle switches, we have the drop control function on there as well. Nice. So even that lateral movement of falling will trip the electronics and stop the motor. Okay, so any other features on this, other than, as I've discussed, that the machine itself, again, has a very nice slim grip, like all the other machines, especially good for the paddle switch grinders, because it doesn't have a lock-on switch, so you have to hold that. A slim grip helps reduce fatigue, helps you control the tool. It's an all-round benefit. Right, a lot easier to operate wearing gloves as well. Absolutely. Right, so that's the 10s. Let's see what else we've got. Put these back. So what we're looking at next is we're really going to look at the flagship product. We're going to look at our BITURBO brushless small angle grinder. So this is the GWX18V-10SC. Yep. Oh, sorry, 10. It's the 15SC, my apologies. Okay, and so 15 stands for around 1500 watts. Now, how the hell do we get 1500 watts? Well, it's a combination between our BITURBO brushless motor. So this is our newest state-of-the-art brushless motor, in conjunction with our ProCORE 18-volt batteries. So these are our newest batteries running on our 21700 cell. Yep. In conjunction with that, then we're able to generate up to about 90 amps of power, which means we can drive a tool this big, which means approximately the equivalent of a 1500 watt machine. Yeah. That's optimized for use with the 5.5 amp hour, the 8 amp hour and the 12 amp hour batteries. Yeah, so there's a 12, yes. So those three batteries, they're the ones we recommend for this machine to get the maximum amount of power out of this grinder. So what other benefits have we got on this, other than the fact that the machine is super powerful? As you can see, hopefully as you can see, it is a much bigger unit. Reason being, obviously it's got a bigger motor, but it's got a bigger fan as well. And that helps keep the machine cooler, keeps the batteries and the machine cool, because what are you going to do with a grinder like this? Well, I can assure you, the users out there, they're going to lean on it, and they're going to lean on it hard. Yeah. In reality, you won't slow that down. When you're using a fibre disc or you're using the Prisma discs that we do now, you can really lean into the material to get that fast material removal there. It's also important to notice with some of the machines we've been looking at, the addition of the anti-vibration or vibration reduction handle. Another good accessory you can purchase if you don't have one. These are available separately. They do quite a good job of reducing the vibration. As we've said, anything you can do to make your job more comfortable means you're going to be happier at work, which is always good, but also you're going to help try and reduce any injury, any fatigue, helps you just be more productive at work all the time. The advantage of reducing the vibration as well, it means you've less trigger time, you can do more work in a day, and you can get through the work quicker with a good accessory as well. So it's a good winner all round. Okay, so we've seen that the machine is, as you can see, it's got the control panel with the S, it's got the HMI, and also it's a connected tool. One of the differences between this machine and the previous 10, I'll grab an 8 amp hour battery, and I'll flick through the fact that you had 3 speed settings on the 10 series. Yes. So on the BITURBO one, you can see, hopefully you can see, we have 6 speed settings. And again, because it's a connected tool, you can connect this to the Toolbox app, and you can change these preset settings for anything you want. The main reason you want to have different speed settings? Basically, for different accessories, you want optimal speeds to run them. You don't want to run a wire wheel, for instance, at maximum RPM. One, you'll reduce the amount of hairs in the end of the wire brush, to be fair, and also you'll prolong the life of the accessory as well. So it allows you to custom the rotation speed with the actual accessory you're using. You'll find on the back of the boxes of the accessories that there's a required speed or a perfect speed for that to get the best out of that accessory. Exactly. Okay, and then lastly, obviously, as it's the flagship product, it's got all the bells and whistles that the 10 have and more. On the HMI, you'll see it's got additional buttons showing some different things, and obviously, I'll just show kickback again. And on the kickback control, it's got all the same thing, kickback, drop control, and then it's got an additional little icon there that shows that the kickback's kicked in. Red light's flashing, reset, and you can start again. Now, one of the features that I didn't mention in the other ones, that obviously the connected tools, so the tools that have a C in it, which means it has a GCY module, that means that it registers any of these
incidents. So
Yes.
at least obviously if you're having trouble with the tool, or maybe you've got an apprentice, and you want to keep an eye on them, make sure they're not hurting themselves and see whether or not they're using the tool correctly. It's a benefit. It's very useful for tracking any kinds of issues.
Basically, if you've handed it to the apprentice and he keeps tripping the machine out, you can have a quick look, sneaky look, and find out exactly what he's doing wrong.
That's
Maybe
right.
offer a little bit of
Friendly advice.
friendly advice, or a bit of ribbing. It's usually the way it goes.
Exactly. So this machine features the typical lock-on switch, but we've seen a paddle switch on the 10 series. So actually, we really need to have one, don't we?
That was missing from the range, yes.
That was missing in range. However, as a bonus for you guys for joining us today, we've got a nice little sneak peek for you.
Yes.
So what we've got, Danny's going to bring it out. Now it hasn't launched yet.
It arrived recently in a plain white box, but we have a paddle switch version of the BITURBO grinder. So exactly the same as the 15 that Chris has just shown, except it's got the paddle switch on there as well. So more and more this is being required by certain job sites where they request the users to have.
So these are spec, yeah, they've been spec'd now for sites, and you can't work on them without this kind of mechanism.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that's becoming more and more popular, and that's fine, because we're going to follow the trend. This is a requirement. So over time, we're going to be producing more and more tools where the paddle switch is a standard.
Basically, this rounds off the range nicely. We have a paddle switch available now in all of the different ranges of grinders that we do.
Right. Okay, let's do a little. Have we got any questions to come up?
We do indeed. Yeah, so we've got a couple of questions from Ian Furlong. He says, will XLOCK be available in larger 18-volt grinders such as 7-inch and 9-inch?
Well, that's a good question, and we will be coming to that shortly. Currently, we don't have it, so it's only for 115 and 125 millimeter discs.
Yep.
I'm keeping an eye out to see where the innovation is going to move. Obviously, there are a number of limitations on why we don't want to move up to a larger system yet. But I haven't heard no yet, but unfortunately I can't say I've got a definite certainty that we're going to move up to the larger angle grinders. At the moment we're focusing on
It's not just really the practicality, it's the legal side of things as well. Obviously these things have got to pass regulations, so definitely keep an eye out on it, and we'll definitely let you know if we get any more of an update. I mean, to be fair, first place they'll go with any sort of updates straight on social media, so keep an eye out.
Yeah. Now I don't want to put my foot out there, I don't want to put my neck out on the line, but obviously when it came to SDS, which was, again, in case you aren't aware, it's a Bosch invention, and then obviously we went up to SDS Max. So there is a good chance, hopefully, in the future that XLOCK will then just go up to a more robust XLOCK system for the large angle grinders, but there needs to be a change, but we'll see. Okay, any other questions there?
Yeah, we got a similar one from Ian. Again, it's really about the design progression of the XLOCK system. And he's asking, can the XLOCK system be designed for flathead / low profile access head grinders? Any clues on that one?
Yes, we'll cover that shortly with the Prisma, I believe.
Okay.
We've got the, basically it's a complete flush fit system for our Prisma range of, I'd like to say sanding, but it's not really sanding, is it?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. We could hold a whole live stream on sandpaper, to be fair, but we don't want to bore you that much on the first one.
Exactly.
So,
okay, well, I'm going to bore you because I want to talk about guards.
Right.
So, as you can see, this is a traditional guard. Probably this is the only one you've ever seen most of the time. This is your grinding guard. However, it should be important to note that if you're going to do cutting, so if you're going to be using cutting discs like this bonded abrasive one, that you should, well, I say should, you really should be changing the guard out to a cutting guard. I've got an example of one here. So this is an example of a cutting guard. Now, what we've got, hopefully, I say hopefully, no, what we have got coming is...
We've actually got one here because this arrived with the new cutting guard attachment. So they all come as standard. All the other grinders come as standard with the 125 or 115 cutting guard. But this came with this little innovation, which I think is fantastic. This has sold me on this machine on its own. Literally just clips over your grinding guard, and instantly you've got a cutting guard. So fantastic little addition there.
Yeah.
And the wonderful thing about this is it will be available separately as an accessory, no doubt, because it fits the old 125 guards as well.
Here's a 7.
So that's a 7. That's your entry level one from earlier. And there you go. From grinding guard to a cutting guard with one simple little accessory.
Honestly, it sounds sad. I can't wait until that's launched.
Do you know what? It's such a simple solution to the problem. I can't think why we didn't do it before.
Exactly.
Absolutely fantastic.
Because otherwise, you've got the whole rigmarole, even though it's relatively easy. then you've got the rigmarole of having to remove the guard just to swap it out.
Yep.
This is a far better, far neater solution, and more importantly, should come as part of standard scope of supply.
Yes.
So instead of having to purchase this separately, you won't have to worry. Your grinder will be fit for purpose for grinding and cutting.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, okay. Let's have a look at some of the accessories.
Yes,
'Cause I think
certainly
that's an
can.
important thing to talk about.
I've got the
Keep
XLOCK
your
here.
machine
We'll,
out, yeah.
we'll leave this one out for now.
So obviously it's a grinder, so it does grinding. So we need to have some grinding discs. Okay, so obviously you've got your traditional bonded abrasive. This is typically going to be used for any kind of grinding application in metal, stainless steel, depending on which one you choose. And that simply fits on, like we said, discussed before, nice and easy. As we pointed out at the beginning, because it is flush, I'll borrow that for a second,
There you go.
because you don't have to worry, you don't have the nut that's holding on, which means you can do flush grinding nice and easy, and you don't have to worry about fouling.
You can really get into sort of hard to reach sort of areas to remove material, whereas before on a grinder you wouldn't have been able to.
Exactly. And obviously because it's an XLOCK system, nice and quick, easy change that, and then move on to the next accessory. So the next accessory for grinding is going to be our range of flap discs. Same thing again, reassuring click, ready to go. So the main difference between the bonded abrasive and the flap disc is a number of advantages. One is the fact that because it isn't a bonded abrasive, you don't have to worry about damage or longevity, because like the bonded abrasives, they have a finite life from manufacture.
3 years from manufacture.
Exactly.
After that, take a look at the date on the disc that you've already got at home. If anything out of date, throw it away. Real problems with the resins breaking down with them after prolonged
Exactly. Typically they'll have the date stamped on the actual accessory, either on the ring. They'll definitely have it on the tin. Always recommend keeping them in the tin. Yeah, you have to consider that. And obviously, bonded abrasive, you need to have the right training on it, because there are some health and safety considerations. Primarily the fact that they can, not always, but they can break. And if they do break, then you need to be concerned about shrapnel and things like that. So flap discs are a lot safer. A lot safer and actually a lot more comfortable to use. So they're basically made out of, I always call fabric, it's not necessarily a fabric, it's a
composite, not resin, a fibre.
Yes, it's a fibre flap disc, which means, as you hopefully you can see, it's quite a soft, it's a very forgiving accessory to use, which means when you lean on it, you've got a lot less vibration and actually very productive.
The backing plate, in fact, has got quite a lot of stress of sort of elasticity in it as well, so you can really lean into materials and for fast removal of
Exactly. Fond favourite,
Yep.
nice low vibration, quite a bit quieter as well.
Really nice finish to those as well. So if you're really looking at sort of having a nice finish on the material that you're working, that's great. Fantastic little kit.
All right, sticking on the topic of abrasives and grinding, we've got something that's quite fancy. Now, we've got the Prisma system. As we said, we'd love to have an entire live stream just talking about the Prisma system, but for the time being, we'll just do a quick top line. So what you've got is 3 different pieces. You've got a backing pad, and you can change these for different.
Yep, they come in soft, medium, and hard for flexibility.
Okay, you have what looks like sandpaper, but let me reassure you, it isn't sandpaper. It's a far more sophisticated system. The name Prisma is actually part of the reason why is because of the shape of the actual particulates, which are pyramid shaped.
Yeah. Basically, when you come to sandpaper, it is literally sand bonded to paper. So you've got the square structure of the sand crystals, whereas with Prisma, they're prismatic. They're sort of pyramid shaped. They're obviously arranged in a way where you get far more efficient usage out of the removal of it, and also lasts much longer.
Yep.
Funnily enough, taking a look at that particular disc there, believe it or not, that was used for about 15 minutes by a couple of the trainees.
That's right.
And they'd really leaned on it as well. So you can see the edge is slightly discoloured, but in reality, that's good for a lot more usage.
Yes.
And note as well, the fitment mechanism on here is completely flush, which allows you to use more of the material right up to the centre without damaging the material you're working on or the attachment mechanism.
Exactly. And I don't want to use the analogy of sandpaper, but I have to, in order to describe it, you've got differing sets of grits, similar to how you have for the flap disc, but you've got coarser and finer grit, depending on how you
difficult. You've got to measure it against something, and the only other thing really out there is sandpaper.
Yeah.
So,
but the longevity, honestly, it's one of those things that you have to try it to believe it.
yes.
Okay, so that's a big, good range of our grinding applications and accessories. So let's move on to some cutting. And now, because we've got the accessory, we can put on the cutting guard.
Yep, so we pop on the cutting guard there, just for illustrative purposes. So there you go. First off, as we showed before earlier, we've got the 1mm inox cutting discs, originally designed for stainless steel, but they're used most commonly now for pretty much any metal. Really gives you a nice clean cut without the loss of much material. So yeah, these fit dead easy, exactly the same way. Just pops on like that and releases nicely. Again, with these, the use by date stamped on, not on the metal ring, but it's printed on the actual disc.
So I'll do a little close-ups, yeah.
And there you go. You got that? Wave it around a bit.
There you go. Just here. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, nicely, easily, cleanly printed. We actually changed the colour recently to make it even more clear what the expiry date is on these.
Yeah. So the downside with these is obviously when you use them, they wear. The diameter reduces. So gradually it wears away, and you do not have so much.
You don't have much depth to cut.
Depth to cut, exactly. So what we also have here is the carbide multi-wheel. Now this is a steel wheel, gulleted here by the got the little the slots in there. Basically, this is around the outside, it's laser welded, which is a Bosch patent. Carbide chips on the end there, and basically what this does stays sharper for longer. More cuts, doesn't reduce in size, so it doesn't restrict the depth of cut. Lasts a lot longer than the standard one.
That's right. Yes.
It's a little slower, but again, it lasts longer.
It's because it's slightly thicker.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, these fit on there, just like that. Again, because it's a metal one, it won't fit the other way around. See, it's not fitting on there at all. Again, we've also got a diamond one, so basically the same technology as we have for the carbide multi-wheel, except this one is diamond tipped. This is largely useful for cast iron, real tough metal. I've seen it used quite a lot on garden railings, that sort of thing.
And one of the other advantages, because it's diamond and not carbide necessarily, it lasts even longer compared to carbide because it's a tougher material, right?
Yes, definitely. The other thing on here, it's got a direction of rotation on that as well, so that goes on not that way round. I always get that wrong.
Yeah, we like to put a curveball out just for the diamond discs because the label faces up on those, whereas it's the inverse for the others.
Yes.
So I like to mess around a few boys.
I wouldn't use the label layout as a correct means of attaching it to an M14 grinder, for instance.
Exactly, but as you can see, it's quite easy to put the blades on the incorrect way if you haven't got an XLOCK system.
Definitely.
The M14 spindle, fair enough, but there's nothing, other than obviously we do put arrows that correspond with the arrows on the front of the gearbox. Other than that, people could quite easily make the mistake and put these the wrong way around.
Exactly.
Which you wouldn't want to do with one of them.
Yeah, unfortunately we've only got this in a 115 disc, but it's exactly the same attachment mechanism. It won't go on that way round.
Yeah, nearly.
If I faffed it up the first time, there you go.
There you go.
See, it's that way around. And especially with a directional blade like this, with the gullets to offset, then you're looking at the not want to put.
So we've got Rob wants to interrupt.
Yeah, I've really interrupted there. I was just sitting around. Speaking of how easy it is to click on and off, Dave's Workbench asked, can you demo the XLOCK system whilst the tool is on to show it cannot be done accidentally?
Well, I mean, we wouldn't want to do it with a bonded abrasive. I think we could safely enough in this situation use a carbide perhaps.
Is this to show that
just to show that the mechanism won't work, yeah? When
when it's running. Okay. There you go. Have you got a battery for me?
It's a BITURBO, so we have to put a ProCORE on it. We should. But we could also put a normal 18-volt battery on it because it's compatible.
I'll move the speed down just to be safe. So run it on one speed here. See? You get it on the camera? Completely isolated. So it's not possible to remove the disc while it's spinning.
I'm very sorry for anyone's ears in that moment. We had no warning, but yeah, point proven.
That's fine, yeah. So if you didn't hear that, as Danny said, it's completely isolated. No problems at all. It will not activate. It's completely separated. It's not
an electronic isolation either. It is mechanical. There is absolutely no way that you can release that while it's running.
Okay. So any more questions at this stage, or you can carry on talking about some accessories? We've got a few little ones left.
You're more than welcome to carry on talking.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, so we're on about. Let's go on to the wire brushes then, Dan.
Yeah. So we've got a range of wire brushes as well. We've got a cut brush here. So again, XLOCK one, pop straight on. Obviously, it's impossible to put that around the wrong way, but...
So what would we use these kinds of things for?
This is for aggressive rust removal.
Automotive and things.
Automotive, yeah. If you want a welding surface or anything like that, you want to remove as much material, any loose rust out the way. Last thing you want to do is have that rust coming back. So these, very aggressive, gives you a perfect welding surface, really. And again, we've got the cup one, and we've also here got the twist wheel as well. So there you go. And obviously you don't want to run these at maximum speed. We've got an RPM rating on here. That will associate with the RPM ratings for the individual speeds you'll find in the user manual.
Exactly. And again,
even then you can customise it with the mobile app.
Yes,
So you can
exactly. Another
set
reason,
to the exact RPM that the accessory is specified for.
Nice.
So there you go. And there is also the ability now, as we couldn't do with the M14 attachment, to use these. We've got a diamond tile hole saw.
Yep, nice.
Basically, this is really comfortable to use. So if obviously you have to have the dust extraction working as well, but really comfortable, working up against the workpiece, good line of sight, low vibration because you're not monkeying around with the angle trying to get it exactly 90 degrees. You've got it right there, you can see exactly what's going on. We have a range of those as well.
So that's a perfect accessory for people like kitchen fitters, bathroom fitters,
Yes.
working in tiles, cutting holes for pipes and things like that.
Yeah, shower installations,
Yeah,
perfect, absolutely perfect.
Okay, so we got any questions?
Yeah, got a couple more questions through. AJ Projects, I'll get to yours towards the end of this because it's not quite on the angle grinders, but that's fine, we'll get to that. But Bolcar, does other accessory manufacturers have license/rights to produce XLOCK compatible accessories? Or only Bosch brand has and will have XLOCK accessories?
Now that's a good question.
It's a good question with a good answer because yes, they are actually licensed. There are a couple of manufacturers out there producing XLOCK blades, XLOCK cutting materials. So yes.
And yeah, there are a couple competitors, I should say. They're also producing the XLOCK machines under license as well, because we obviously own the patent currently. So yes, it's not going to be a Bosch exclusive. Very similar to like how we set the standard for things like SDS, StarLock, things like that. XLOCK's going the same way. So it's an established system that we're pushing out there. It's not a flash in the pan job. Okay.
Yeah, got another one from Ian Furlong. He says, what is the thickness of the bonded abrasive disc? As in, how thin is the cut line?
That's a millimetre, I think. It goes down to a millimetre, I know. This one might be slightly thicker.
That's a 1 mil?
Oh no, that's a 1 mil. Yep, I think that's the thinnest that they go. Anything other than that, you're going to get wobble on the cut and you end up breaking the disc. So it's a 1 mil. That's been established for ages. They were always known as 1 mil cutting discs. I mean, I've always called them that. So.
1 mil and up, isn't it? It goes up from that. Yeah. Okay. Well, so we've done all these accessories. There's a general question I know is out there. No one's really asked it, but I know they're asking it. They would have wished they asked it, which is what about compatibility, especially backwards compatibility?
Yes.
So I'll get the M14 spindle out. I'll have to. Oh, sorry, guys, you have to wait while I take this off again.
Yep. At least you could find the spanner this time. I had trouble finding it earlier.
Okay, so I mean, we thought about this, right? So if we grab the equivalent XLOCK, same one, but an XLOCK disc. There you go. It fits perfectly fine with the M14 spindle.
The interface for the XLOCK was designed specifically to be backwards compatible with the M14 range of grinders as well. So it's a good opportunity to start buying in the XLOCK accessories because you can use them with the grinders you have. Maybe next time you go to replace a grinder, be it worn out or unrepairable, then you can go for an XLOCK system and take full advantage of that system. But yeah, it's a great buy-in really. There's no additional cost to these blades. They're exactly the same price as the M14 fitment ones. So there's no additional cost to starting to buy into the XLOCK system.
Exactly. Yeah, no disadvantage at all.
No.
Okay, so where are we going now? Let's start talking about something fascinating. Let's go for dust extraction management, eh?
Dust extraction,
yeah,
right.
Keep it exciting.
I've got a perfect machine here for that. We have another GWX 18V-10. Not an SC, this is just the basic machine, but it's to show you the concept of our dust extraction system.
It's a PSC.
It is a PSC, yes. This is the snail system, we call it the snail system. It's a GDE 115-125 F-CT.
Well done.
Really catchy.
Well done.
I'm glad.
Sorry, I'm just going to have to interrupt. It's FC-T.
Oh, you nearly got it.
Yeah,
Oh.
you've got to get it right.
It's only because you've got it written in front of you.
No, maybe.
Right, so yep, carry on.
So yeah, this is a fully enclosed dust extraction system. Got wheels on it as well. Really makes for ease of use, so you haven't got the weight of the machine to support. But it's dust extraction at point of cut, which is the perfect way to dust extract. The last thing you want to be doing is trying to trap the dust once it's airborne. I mean, when we're talking about dust as well, we're talking about silica.
Absolutely.
Really big problem in the workplace. Health and safety are really tight on it at the moment, as they well should be, because it's very, very dangerous.
Exactly. So the main point of this is obviously to remove it, as Dan said, from the point of source, but you're not going to put a bag on that. You're going to have to use active dust extraction. So obviously,
so it's fitted with the click and clean system. So just here we have a click and clean tube, easy to attach, just like that.
So you would be putting that onto, well, hopefully a Bosch gas, either a 35, a 55, etc. At least an M class onwards. But obviously we make it compatible via the friction fit, so you can use any dust extractor you choose to. Yeah,
the size of the inlet here is also designed to be used with the push fit adapter that's available on most of the, well, most, if not all vacuum cleaners really. Adapters are available to use them on various different machines.
Now, so this model will fit on all the grinders that we've shown, all the 18 volt grinders. The fitment is done via removal of the original guard, and this replaces it. So I'll let Dan do a quick demonstration, show how it fits.
So if I pop the side handle locks the GDE in position. It's that simple. So you take the guard off of the machine, pop it on there, rotate it to the lock position there. You can see that the thread holes line up, and then just pop the side handle back in position there. Tighten that up to lock it down, and it's fitted as secure as any guard would be, and it's the perfect working.
Exactly. Right. And this, again, I mean, it's a minor point, but one of the advantages of XLOCK is when you're running a dust extraction hood like this, changing accessories can be quite cumbersome, but because you've got the XLOCK system, it's effortless.
Yeah, even getting access to the XLOCK system is dead easy. Just push the button there, and there you go.
Exactly.
Pop a disc in there, no problem. And there you go. We've got a good depth of the cut adjustment on there as well, so for precise cuts.
Oh, look, Adam's asked a good question. Will there be any 9-inch 18 volt BITURBO grinders in the future?
It is a good question.
Well, we've got something similar, but not quite. I thought, although it's not XLOCK, not an XLOCK grinder, but we do have another sneak peek for all those people that have joined us and are still with us. I think we should roll out another sample that came through in the post relatively recently.
Yep.
So we've been obviously talking about small angle grinders, so those are 115, 125 millimeters. But we've got something that's an unusual one, which is actually this one, which is 180 millimeter.
Yes.
That's slightly unusual.
Yes, small angle grinder, but takes the discs from a large angle grinder. So that gives you far more versatility with depth of cut than you would normally get with a small angle grinder. Yeah,
it's a BITURBO machine, so it's BITURBO brushless, like the GWX 18V-15 SE.
They've come straight out with a paddle switch for safety.
Well, what's the big deal? Why have we made something like this? And the reason is, well, here's an example of a typical large angle grinder. So
that's what you would have to have purchased before to get the same sort of depth of cut.
Yeah, so this is a GWS, it's a 22-230 LVI, it's a 230 millimeter disc. There's some problems, not problems, there's limitations. Obviously you've got your big disc, but you've got quite a large gearbox housing here, right? Which you don't have with this, because this is using a large disc, an 180 mil disc, but it's only got the small angle grinder housing.
So you've got 180 mil disc, you've got smaller gearbox, more depth of cut. So rotating disc there, gearbox isn't in the way. Yeah, if I remember, actually, you get a deeper depth of cut from this than you do with that.
So if I remember correctly, you get roughly about 59 millimeters because of this, from this distance to this distance, but because you've got the smaller head, you can get up to about 61 millimeters, I think. Yeah. So that actually hasn't come out yet. No. So that's a real sneak peek. That should, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's coming out either end of this year or early next year.
Could be early next year.
Yeah. Yeah. So really looking forward to that. Yeah. And because we're rolling out with the new grinder, or sorry, cutting guard attachment, this one is the same. It's got a new attachment, which means you don't have to change the guard. You've got an attachment. I think you've got it down there, haven't you?
Yes, exactly. So this comes with exactly the same system here. Slightly different design because it's a different blade guard. But that pops on the standard grinding guard, and that turns that into a cutting guard.
So other than the fact, unfortunately, it's not XLOCK.
No,
it's still a smashing machine.
With XLOCK currently, we're limited. For anyone who's joining us now, unfortunately, XLOCK currently is limited to 115 and 125 grinders. It should come in the future, I should imagine. I mean, it really depends how well it's accepted and how widely it's accepted, and also regulations, that sort of thing.
So,
to see how it goes.
Adam, it's not quite what you want, but performance-wise, might be worth looking out for, because if you're wanting the performance of a 9-inch grinder, well, this is pretty much it as far as we're concerned. Yeah, for an 18-volt BITURBO grinder that allow you to do that kind of plunge cut. Yeah. Okay. Any more?
Yeah. So if you remember Ian's question from earlier, asking about the thickness of a bonded abrasive disc, he's actually asking about the thickness of the new multi-material discs. Do you have that info to hand?
Yes, we do. We've got one here. I shall read it straight off for you. I think these are about 1.5. It doesn't have it on there, actually.
Oh, we should bring our verniers. I will double check it. It's not something, I must admit, it's not something we measured, but I think it's either 1.5 or 2.
Yes,
we'll come back to you on that one. We'll double check that one. It's not on the disc, so we can't double check the specs quite easily.
Yeah, we'll pop a message through to you later with the exact specs for that. But yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw a curveball at you because this isn't angle grinder related whatsoever.
Yes.
AJ Projects asks, hi, is there any upgrade coming for a BITURBO 18-volt jigsaw?
Right, it's a good question actually. We've been asked this before. Fantastic idea, but do you really need a BITURBO motor on a jigsaw? Unless you're going to extend the length of the blade to like 2 foot long, I don't really need the power for it.
Yeah. Now we do have a revision of our current 18-volt jigsaws.
Yep, there is a new one coming out. I've seen pictures of it.
Now I have heard rumours that we still might bring out a BITURBO one.
Right.
But not confirmed. But you could argue, do you need one? Well, we'll see. So stay tuned. That's all I can say.
A good upgrade for a standard one, or standard system tool as we call them, would be a ProCORE battery, as they're backwards compatible with all of the machines, 18 volt all the way back to 2005. In fact, an upgrade to a ProCORE battery is as nearly as good as, but I wouldn't say that you need the real power for a BITURBO. Not saying that we're not going to do it, but yeah.
We'll say stay tuned. As I said, we know we've got some new jigsaws coming out, not BITURBO, but they have had a significant changes to it. So if you're just wanting performance and power, you might not need it. So yes.
Yeah, there's some really good innovations on them as well. So.
I mean, I think we can comfortably say just keep an eye on social media.
Absolutely.
Because that's always where we're going to put the latest stuff.
Yeah, either myself or Dan will be doing it, or we'll be putting it onto our social media platforms. There's plenty of reasons to sign up and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as the rest of our social channels, because primarily we're going to put all our sneaks, all our sneaky peeks, all our products that are coming out. We're going to sneak them to you guys first.
Yeah, give us the opportunity as well to update you on any release dates, should they become available to us.
Exactly. Grease gun, 18-volt grease gun from Ian Furlong. No?
I've seen this pop up a couple of times. Yeah, I could see that would be incredibly useful. However, I haven't seen any plans for anything like that.
I've seen some other things, some other sneaky teasers of some other BITURBO machines. We should have brought it with us because it's a big favourite of mine. Maybe there might be a BITURBO recip saw coming out.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe. I think you're getting the gist there. Yes.
Are you giving away all the secrets now? Is that what's happening?
No. I've got to save some secrets for the other live streams, obviously, but there are some really great products that are coming out, and we'll be revealing some of them, or plenty of those, on these live streams in the coming weeks and months.
The thing I'd say to keep an eye out for is watch any of our other videos. You might see the new wall in the background. We've got a wall with all the new machines, so keep an eye on those. You might get a sneak peek into some machines that are coming out soon.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so, well, we've done pretty well. That's nearly 15 minutes. Very well done to you guys staying with us as well, and thank you for the questions. They were really great questions. Obviously, we want to take this opportunity to ask you guys either on the social media channels, in the chat as well, to ask us, well, make suggestions on what you'd like the next live stream to be about. Obviously, me and Dan have got plenty of ideas. We could talk for hours about lots of topics.
Looking forward to the sandpaper one.
Mate, Charisma's all the way. But feel free to add some comments in what you'd like us to talk about next, as well as just put general questions. We're very happy to answer those questions in the next live stream. So, again, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you from Chris.
Thank you from me.
Oh, you put me on the spot there. And thank you from me.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.